Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
We're playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of Tight Pants Society.
No fucking way is that a gimme, right?
Welcome into a pre-Super Bowl edition of Gas. I am Gresh, coming from you from the planet fucking Hoth. And Jason Anik is feeling good, nice and easy down in sunny Florida. How you doing, brother?
Oh, sunshine and rainbows down in South Florida. But Andrew Gresh III. The New England fucking Patriots, man. I'll tell you, I want to scream and yell. I have a dirty boxing event this weekend coming up, and last dirty boxing event, I didn't have a voice because I was sick, so I'm afraid to lose my voice. My enthusiasm is being curbed right now. I'm so fucking fired up, man. They punched their ticket. Haters gonna hate. Boston in the Super Bowl, bitches.
Well, some would say, hey, Jason Anik, you were one of them last week, picking the Broncos and all that stuff. I know there may be some people who have a little bit of confusion on the mind of Jason Anik and all this.
Well, no, I mean, the result of close football games has nothing to do. It's not as if some of the things I predicted were all outrageous. I think there's a lot to get into with this game, Gresh.
Yes.
I'm not trying to paint it with a Broncos lens, but I do think the starting quarterback actually really did matter in a game where using your feet might have been able to help. I've never seen a game quite like that. I'll let you start us out.
Hey, so here's one of the things that are kind of irking me, like the logo or the mantra for this team is all we got, all we need. Jay, shouldn't it really be we find a way? Because that is the New England Patriots this year. Okay, so people were bitching they had a soft schedule. So they were punking teams by 20, right? Everybody goes tits up for freaking Myles Garrett. 5 sacks and they lose by 21, right? It doesn't really matter. Great stats, who cares? And then everybody's bitching about, well, the soft schedule. Okay, fine. If that soft schedule got them a crack at 3 alleged big boys that everybody loved. So, Jay, all these assholes out here are either moving the goalposts to say, well, there weren't really that many good teams, or look who was hurt, this, that, or the other. It's as simple as this. For 3 playoff games against 3 really good defenses and one in Houston that was supposed to be sent from Jesus Christ himself, they have won those 3 games. And they've done it in different ways, and they've done it ugly, and they've done it with, you know what, not caving into analytics or any BS like that. You know what the head coach did? He managed it the way smart head coaches do, like Bill Belichick. That's why he's got 5 rings he can put on one hand and another one he can put on his dick if he wants to, because he's got so many Super Bowl rings. It's really aggravating the shit out of me, Jay, that people are still screaming about the soft schedule. Look at what they've done the last 3 weeks, and they have not played great and still won these games. That has to tell you something about this football team, and I'm just sick of it. I'll admit the schedule was soft, but you know what? At the end of the day, they got a crack at 3 big boys, and they found a way to beat them all. So everybody needs to just STFU.
I agree with everything you said, and I love that you approached it from that standpoint and the words you chose, getting a crack at the big boys, because that's exactly what happened. And look, maybe had the Patriots played a little better football in the 3 postseason games, people would be giving them more love. Drake Maye did allude to maybe the fact they didn't play their best football, but we talked early on this season, you brought it up with the Browns game, there's a margin for error with this team. The disrespect is unbelievable. I think there is some Boston hate, right? It's the 15th straight conference championship game with Kansas City and New England. So for me, it becomes like laugh out loud rather than get mad, because my focus as a Patriots fan does immediately shift to if they can realize a championship. But there's so much to get into in terms of this season and this particular game that got them where they are. But in terms of this specific game, I do believe Bo Nix may have made a difference given the weather component. And I will say, Gresh, we've watched a lot of football, you more than me. I've never quite seen a game with weather impact it in a way in the middle of it in a game of this magnitude. It almost felt like a baseball game where there was a weather delay in the 6th inning, and like that's the score, and go back to your clubhouse. We just got to shut it down now. And Mike Florio made a great point. What if Denver had tied at 10? Was anyone going to score? So I think it was a fascinating game. I was riveted. My mom took a picture of me. I looked scared to death.
I love this, the code put up of how the conditions got worse as the game went on. And you're right. The whole, if it's week 8 and you're Sean Payton and you want to go for it in that spot with a backup quarterback and pass up the field goal, and it's a regular season game, then fine. You're managing, again, I go back to Belichick. He always says points and field position are at a premium in the playoffs. And Peyton ignored field position and ignored points to try to go for it. And that old Charlie Weiss line that I've referenced, just be 1 point better. You don't have to be sexier. You don't have to win the style points. Just be 1 point better. And I think that is this football team.
You know, I agree. And yes, was he able to instill Jared Stidham with confidence early on? Yes. But don't you think a 10-point lead would have put that moment to me with that backup quarterback to give him that confidence rather than the coin flip on 4th down, where if you get it, you do probably win the game. Okay. You probably, I guess scoreboard indicate, but you take him to a different place of confidence, and then different things proceed accordingly. The game was just fascinating. How many turnovers did Drake Maye have, though? You talk about managing a football game from the standpoint of a head coach. How about the quarterback that protected the football? No turnovers for the Patriots unless I'm mistaken.
No, and I'll tell you what, I really think the last 8 weeks, you can argue that Ramondre Stevenson has been, in his own way, the most consistent and the most effective player. Jay, there was one of the runs, I think the 28-yard run that the kid broke. Ramondre worked with an offensive lineman in picking up like a middle blitz, and he stoned the guy. I mean, really stood him up in the pocket, and the kid scooted by him. Ramondre played 94% of the snaps because, unfortunately, Henderson has now gotten into, I'm going to try to make a big play every time. He's dancing around, and you notice that Ramondre got tough, bad weather playoff carries. Why? Because he runs in a straight line. And then Ramondre turned 2-yard runs into 5-yard runs. And those little things, Jay, to me, made such a big difference in this game. And it's little hidden stuff, because it wasn't, Ramondre broke a 50-yard run, which is the way people want to evaluate running backs. It was the little things that guy did. For one back to play 94% of the snaps on offense is crazy, especially at altitude.
So many teams get credit for their backfield, even the Super Bowl backfield for the Seahawks. I know we're not going to see Nick Charbonnet. We're only going to get Kenneth Walker, but Patriots got their own little thunder and lightning. And Ramondre Stevenson, again, this coaching staff, do you see the way he carries the football? It looks as though he's carrying it differently, protecting it differently. And gosh, if he doesn't fumble, we all know his value. He can catch the football too. Trevion, that was just more of a Mondre game, if you will. But gosh, is he valuable? And, LeGarrette Blount was talking earlier this week, I think before the AFC Championship game. I didn't even have this in my notes. And he's saying, someone's asking if the Patriots get through, are they just going to get blown out in the Super Bowl if it's Rams or Seahawks? What matchup you like better? He's like, they're not getting blown out by either team. Gosh, I'm just so happy for the Patriots. It's just unbelievable, right? You could go over it again. Patriots 0-4 at Denver in the postseason. Go ahead.
No, true. But you know what, Jay? And I've gone the rant on the word unbelievable, but this really is. I mean, it's not Indiana turnaround, but Jesus God, it was pretty close given the way how deep Mayo sunk this team last year. And you mentioned the kid. And I know that we will get to the quarterback comparison and all that, but how about this? 54 total points are the fewest any team has scored and won every game in a 3-game playoff stretch since 1969. And everybody, Jay, I feel like if we just go, not us, but if we go by the national media, right? Chargers got tough defense. Houston's the 85 Bears. Oh, boy, this Denver defense can really pass rush. And the Patriots defense outplayed each of those defenses in each of those games. This group is flying under the radar, and I loved hearing arguably the best player in Milton Williams after the game, basically saying, when are you going to put some respect on our name? I love it that the best player is getting pissed off that they are not getting their just due.
You know, their struggles during the regular season in the red zone, I think, is a big reason why maybe they haven't been given their flowers, but they've sort of fixed that in the postseason. We talked all season long about this being a wide open AFC, right? Obviously, we knew Mahomes was out, Joe Burrow was out, Lamar Jackson was maybe going to be out. He ended up being out. So that makes me very happy that in a year where it was wide open, the Patriots maximized their opportunity and put themselves in a position to perhaps win a championship. And if Seattle ends up being too tough for them, I do think this bodes well for the future. I talked about Cole Kmet in Chicago, talking about, it's hard to get back there. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, very excited, hard to get back there. But I think this is an enormous step for the Patriots. And I'm glad, given a lot of the struggles in the postseason, they're going to have another opportunity to gain experience with Super Bowl week and all that brings.
Well, and this is where Vrabel is worth his weight in gold, in my opinion, okay? Now, number one, I do think some of these coaches, it's the whole, well, if you're not analyticing, then, you're not up with the Joneses or anything like that. I couldn't disagree more. Vrabel had the confidence in himself to coach that fourth quarter the way he did.
Yep.
Behringer wasn't killing it, right? The wind was pulling that ball out of bounds every time.
Behringer was not killing it. You're right.
No, and you know what? And it didn't deter Vrabel at all. Even though he knew it was going to be 3 yards and a cloud of dust and then maybe we're going to punt, he was managing field position and clock and weather, which is what the head coach has to manage. To me, it was brilliant stuff. And now, Jay, when you look at this roster, not a lot of guys who have been there and done that like Vrabel has. This is where Mike Vrabel's Super Bowl experience combined with understanding when to give these young dum-dums 10 minutes on their phone and shit like that. This is where Vrabel's worth his weight in gold. They know today is the day where you get flights, you get tickets. This is really, this is the way Zolak described it to me once. He goes, this day before you start game planning is the bullshit day. Meaning, does Uncle Chucky want to fly in from, Seattle or whatever to go to the game or something like that? You handle all of your particulars, all of your BS, and then you got to, what you can practice, and I think Vrabel's going to do this, or at least this is my hunch. Halftime, Jay. If you've ever been to a Super Bowl, yeah. If you're in if the Anik brothers are in the stands having a pint and watching Katy Perry, it's a great time. If you're a football player and you stop down for 35 minutes and then you got to crank it back up at Super Bowl level again, that's tough to do. And that's where I think Vrabel, those are among the things that Mike Vrabel learned in being in Super Bowls that he can help his football team manage and get prepared for.
Great stuff there. I want to stay a little bit on this Broncos game and ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, please do. We got to unpack this.
So the Jarrett Stidham, and I really like Jarrett Stidham. I followed him because he was a Patriots draft pick and maybe the successor to Tom Brady. So we know him somewhat well. Just so many unique circumstances where Peyton wants him to be the backup in Denver. So does Vrabel this season in New England. McDaniels brings him with him to Vegas, right? But ultimately, that turnover, I'm just sort of curious your take on that turnover from Stidham and how much do you put that on him and the moment maybe being too big for him having not played for 2 years.
Yeah, I think Sean Payton had pretty high expectations for Stidham, as a lot of coaches would. But that's a panic and an inexperienced move from Stidham. And look, in the second half in particular, the Patriots really heated him up. It felt like all they wanted to do with the pressure was speed up his process, right? We hear about quarterbacks all the time. Can they speed up their process when the blitz comes? And the good ones are, Tom Brady is like laughing at the blitzer before he blitzes and he throws it. That's an extreme level. But can you operate while everything is sped up? And I thought Stidham did a really poor job of that in New England, did a great job of speeding him up. And I felt early that's where Sean Payton was going to be able to try to make Stidham comfortable. Like I even said on TV before the game, I expect the first 15 to go Denver's way, meaning I thought they were going to go down and get a first drive touchdown. They didn't, but ultimately they did score, and it was a McDaniels play to a tight end in the corner of the end zone. And then after that, New England was like, F it, we're just going to hit him. And then when the weather started to change and everybody got conservative, it made it easier for New England to kind of, and that's where those points would have mattered, Jay. You think about it, if Denver's up 10-0, even if New England scores the touchdown, and then great job by the kid to slide down and give Borregales a chance at a field goal at the end of the half. That was a really good play.
That was a great play.
Great play by Drake Maye and understanding it. And Vrabel was right there to the ref with the timeout. They were both in sync on that play. You go in up 10-7 versus tied at 7 where Borregales missed a kick. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're feeling very, very different in that moment. And I thought New England still had the momentum, and then it really led to the defense speeding up Stidham. No, I put it on him, Jay. He's not a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, well, and I think, unfortunately, that's the opportunity that might have given him that opportunity next year or not, and I think it's going to be or not. Malik Willis. Go get Malik Willis, any of you teams. But a couple more things from this that I want to get to. So the Patriots have had great success when they bring pressure and blitz, and they didn't do a lot of this, as maybe doing it more in the postseason than the regular season. And so that, I think, they have had trouble getting pressure with 4. And I think that bringing pressure in the right spots and they're disguising their coverages has been outstanding. And I will be interested to see if they can do some similar things to Sam Darnold. Another point I want to make. Interestingly enough, you talk about Vrabel and how he managed this game. If there was ever a game that you actually coach not to lose, this was what it was with a 10-7 lead, right? And I think that was appropriate in a lot of ways when they were like, we're going to run it 3 times and punt. Because the only way to lose this game is to have something fluky happen where we fuck around and some fluke play, right? So I thought that was just brilliant overall. But also, I think the Patriots get no credit, like you're saying, right? How about the way they began the third quarter? Before that weather, when they kicked that field goal to go up 10-7, 5 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. That was enormous. That, so yes, you could say that game after that was, like a baseball game. All right, we're calling it in the 6th inning. But what they did in that first 8-9 minutes, punched their fucking ticket.
100%. And then in the fourth quarter, the ability to close it out, where it wasn't the typical, let's go 9 minutes in running the ball and maybe kick a field goal. But still, they handled the ball properly. And I thought Vrabel's coaching in the fourth quarter was it was magnificent and ballsy at the same time.
I agree.
Because, Jay, it's so counterintuitive to the way all of these, offensive high-flying coaches want to do it. It's like, I got third down in the snow. I can hit him with a trick play or a play action. No, New England used it before it got really bad, and it worked for them. And then Vrabel, because here's what it is, Jay, to me. It's Vrabel telling the other coaches, hey, this is how we're going to play this. It's the whole, right now, I kind of don't give a shit what you think. This is what I think is best, and this is what I want you to do. And McDaniels managed it well. Kerr, the D coordinator, managed it well. I thought it was just in an era where we just want to bow down and fillet all of these offensive, offensive juggernaut and analytic-minded people. It really took a set of balls for Mike Vrabel, because if it blows up on him, then it's the coach was too conservative. He took the ball out of the hands, and you're answering questions to your owner. And that's where Robert Kraft, enabling Mike Vrabel to do what he needs to do in a situation like that, on the road, fourth quarter AFC title game, he didn't care. He didn't care other than managing those 15 minutes as best as he could. And I think it takes a lot of balls because the modern coach is going to want to do something stupid there. See Ben Johnson.
And Vrabel just so able to live in the moment to moment, manage the micro, the macro, the small picture, the big picture. He's just completely locked in. We're blessed. One final thing before we move forward, and I don't think we need to be long on this, but okay. The Chiefs are going to be moving to a dome in the state of Kansas. Is that accurate? I don't know if that's official or not.
No, it is. No, by 2031, everyone in the AFC West will be playing indoors. And if Denver gets their way, same thing for them. How funny is that?
It's hard not to make this a longer conversation, but what I will say is that I'm certainly a fan of weather in football. It is kind of unique that that oftentimes that real bad weather is in the postseason, because that really is when winter sort of gets going. Yes, that 10-7 game literally felt like it got frozen. Literally frozen in time, and the last 15 minutes of the game, it didn't matter. And it's just kind of weird for me. So I've always been wanting weather. How can Kansas City take away their snow? And usually it is an advantage for the home team. But ultimately for me, I don't know. This game, I can understand, if I'm not a Patriots fan, how this leaves something to be desired in a huge game.
Yeah, if teams want to do it, that's their choice. I feel like in Green Bay, they'll never build a dome, nor should they ever. It would ruin that place. But if you want the outdoor to be a part of the equation for your football team, look at Buffalo, Jay. They built a nice stadium where the fans are going to be covered, and it's going to be a better experience for them. But the field is still uncovered, and the elements can still be a part of the factor there in Buffalo. So I really do think it's kind of team to team. And that's why these Northeast football teams are built for anything and everything. I'm a big believer in that you can't take the LA Rams and throw them into the weather here. It'd be really tough. And I know they went and did it in Chicago. But man, oh man, it's tough on everybody. And I love that you build a Northeast football team. I think in building a Northeast football team, they can play in anything. You want to play in the dome? That's easy for us.
Exactly.
You want to come play in the snow? Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for Drake in the bowl. Like, the Patriots now get a fucking nice weather game. Let's fucking go, boys. Do what you can do.
You know what? You're right. And we were pumping up earlier Ramondre, but Henderson may end up being a big factor in this game because there isn't the outdoor element that you really have to worry about. No, I think football should be played in weather. I don't hate domes. I don't. I just love being around or rooting for a football team that is built really for the outside, and they can make the real easy transition to play inside now. I just love it. I think it's a big advantage for us to come. Now, just real quick, here's what's crazy. And our producer, Cody Merrow, ended up getting like 20 inches of snow in New Hampshire. We got like 17 here. Jay, if the AFC Championship game was in New England, it would have been played on Monday night. There was no way, for as much as we love the elements, it was so bad here. There was no way they would have been able to play that game.
Interesting.
And last night, we ended up getting like an extra 3 inches of snow. So snow probably still would have been a factor if they played that game. If they did like a traditional Monday Night Football, maybe kicked it off at 7:00 so that you gave people some time to, plow out of their houses and to be able to get down to Gillette. But it was so bad. It was the rare extreme that it was so bad they wouldn't have played that AFC Championship game on Sunday. It would have got punted to yesterday. And then it would have been, the elements, the atmosphere. People would have been on fire because they've been shoveling out a Hoff. God almighty, it would have been amazing. But for the Broncos, it's a bad break. Would Bo Nix have made a difference? Jay, I'm with you 100%. And you know what? My pick might have been a little different because I already kind of know where I'm leaning for or at least I feel like I know where I'm leaning for the Super Bowl, but I still need to dig into the numbers a little bit more. But I really felt with Jarrett Stidham, Denver had no chance. They got their one touchdown, and then the coach probably mismanaged them out of 6 more points.
Fascinating. All right, we got to get to the NFC Championship game recap. And it's interesting. Sean McVay criticized himself for his job the prior week at Chicago, right? But I thought he had a couple opportunities in this game to make some different decisions. I understand hindsight's 20/20, but late in the game, down 31-27, they could have kicked a field goal to make it 31-30 on a 4th and 4. I don't think that would have been outrageous. And even going for 2 when they scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. I understand he didn't know that was going to be the last score of the game, but at that point, maybe it looked like it was going to be in the 50s in terms of the score. But I thought he had some moments there. Really competitive team. So sick of everybody talking about that being the Super Bowl. New England's going to have something to say about it. And I'll say, and I'll let you go on this game, these two teams are very evenly matched. As a Patriots fan, though, I am very glad that we are not seeing the Rams come to town. Let Christian Gonzalez lock down Smith and Jigba. Let's figure it out. I don't need to see Puka Nacua, Matt Stafford, etc. So either way, we can talk about this game, but hard not to look forward.
Yeah, I wanted the Rams. I thought New England matched up really well against the Rams, and they're tougher than them. That to me would have been the big difference. And I do think there was some toughness difference in between Seattle and the Rams in really watching this game. To your point though, Jay, and kind of moving forward, other than the profiles of the quarterbacks, right? And we can look at the way Drake Maye's played this postseason, the way Sam Darnold's played this postseason. It's been wildly different number-wise between the two. Other than that, I feel like it's kind of looking in a mirror. A tough-minded defensive coach. They like to run the ball. I mean, even when Seattle's offense is ripping, they don't really want Sam Darnold throwing more than 25 times. And how many times did Drake Maye land on what felt like 24, 25, or 26 throws a game? I feel like they both want to manage the quarterback on some level. They both love to run the ball. They both have tough defenses. Here's the thing. They're big in the line of scrimmage. I think both teams, like you look at Milton Williams, you don't see a 300-pounder. You see a pretty active D lineman. But boy, when you look at some of those fat bodies they got on that offensive line in Seattle, there's some satchel asses over there, and that's going to be a great fight between both offensive lines and both defensive lines, because I think there's some real players in there, and I also think there's a lot of beef. The size is going to be a factor in this game, in my opinion.
I agree. There's a lot of different components to this game. I think the Patriots last week playing in the snow in that 10-7 game, and then you see Seattle and LA being able to put up some points. It's like if Seattle and LA had been playing in the snow, it would have been pretty similar to what the Patriots executed. Otherwise, they would have lost. So I look forward. The Patriots' last 3 games, really tough defense, cold weather games. There's been some weather in some of these games. So look, CJ Stroud had trouble the prior week. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity for them to play a clean game. In terms of this NFC Championship game, before we go full on to the Super Bowl, anything else you want to touch on from this particular game? Special teams for the Rams was a huge issue. Big play there where muff punt really flipped the game. Mm-hmm. Anything else from that game before we move forward?
What's really interesting is Jeremy Springer, who is the special teams coach here in New England, the only holdover from the Mayo staff was connected to McVay. And then you look at special teams hurting McVay and you're like, oh my God. But that to me is some of my criticism of McVay. We're going to play offense. How about the other, I've argued this before. Bill Belichick went to Tom Brady, defensive mind to an offensive guy, and flipped things around on the board and opened Brady's mind up to thinking differently about football. I don't think Sean McVay went to Aaron Donald and said, hey, I'm going to help you be a great defensive lineman and blah, blah, blah. I think that guy forgets about the other parts of the game because he wants to just, he wants to cream all over himself in what offensive play he can draw up that doesn't work whenever they need to go for 2. But anyway, I know I'm kind of ranting on McVay again. I understand it. I got a lot of respect for this guy, Mike McDonald, on the other side. I just think Seattle was tougher than the Rams. I really do. I mean,
it's fair.
And Darnold is playing at a level that, boy, I can't believe what I'm about to say. I almost threw up, but no. Sam Darnold's played like Tom Brady for 2 weeks. Right.
It's so interesting because we do revere Kevin O'Connell, and he liked Sam Darnold, but he didn't love him. And he didn't love him enough to think that he could take him to the promised land as he believes J.J. McCarthy can. And I agreed with him in this summer. So did you and I. We think Darnold, we would have thought Darnold maybe would go backwards, right? But a really good fucking situation in Seattle, and professional sports are oftentimes about situations. And I think it's given him a huge confidence boost. I think he's crossed over a plateau in terms of his confidence, where I think having that year with O'Connell and now having this with a team around him that can support him, he can fuck up and they can still win. I think he's operating from a very confident place, and he is very dangerous. Number 3 overall pick, just like Drake Maye. I think it's fascinating. For me, when I look at this game, it's really about that line matchup, the Patriots defensive line versus that Seattle offensive line. And can they get to Darnold? And can they, I hate to say it, but have him seeing ghosts and maybe getting him a little off his spot. But I tell you what, for me, Zach Charbonnet being out, believe it or not,
big.
Well, but you know what? I actually think, in a way, Kenneth Walker is playing at such an elite level. It reminds me a little bit in Detroit, where it's almost like you don't even want David Montgomery to have carries sometimes. You want Jahmyr Gibbs taking everything. And I think for the Patriots, they might have been able to take care of Charbonnet inside, but Kenneth Walker run all over the place. So for me, there's a little bit of that lack of balance that scares me, because the Kenneth Walker matchup against that Patriots defense scares me. He is operating at a high end right now.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence that New England will at least be able to force the run to the edges. Milton Williams, now I know this is pass rush. Milton Williams had 8 pressures on Championship Sunday and had a pass rush win rate of 28%. I think those guys will do. Milton Williams, when Milton Williams is out there, Christian Barmore is a different player. And I think that's where they handle the run. My worry, if the run game gets going, is the middle level, the second level, right? I know the safeties can come up and play the run, but are these linebackers? I mean, can Spillane, if you're hurt, just go sit down. Seriously.
You hate Spillane.
I do. I don't think he's a great linebacker. I mean, you know what he is? He's rah-rah black eye paint guy. That's funny.
You've like soured me on him. He gets hurt. My mom's like, oh no. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Gresh doesn't like him.
Yeah, it's Spillane, right? Like, he's in and out all the time, but man, oh man, I hope we don't come away from this one saying, boy, New England's got to take that 31st pick and make sure they go get, a badass linebacker who can patrol that middle level. I think the D line's going to hold up really well. I do, Jay. And, Anthony Jennings and, Chason, who's done a great job rushing the passer, he's at least competitive enough in the run game on the edge to turn it inside. So you win on the interior, and if your edge guys just don't get, shit canned out to the edge and they can set it so the safeties and the corners can kind of get in there, I think there is a way to slowing down the run. It's only 5 sacks, and I know it was one less game. Maye was sacked 15 times in these playoffs. Darnold only 5. And a lot of that is controlling the run game. To your point, Jay, Seattle had run the ball representatively enough that they didn't have to let Darnold just stand back there, and they weren't in as many 3rd and longs. If there's one criticism of the Patriots offense, they've not been able to stay out of 3rd and long during this whole, post-game run.
So in terms of this game, Super Bowl 49, right? Everybody asks, oh, what's your favorite Boston sports championship, right? Because we've certainly been blessed. But Super Bowl 49 against the Seattle Seahawks with the Malcolm Butler interception at the end of the game, that broke the 10-year Patriots Super Bowl drought. And the Patriots were the best team in football for 10 years and had no rings. They lost twice to the Giants in that time. So for me, that victory over Seattle is the one that always sticks out to me. I do another podcast with Tony Farmer, a Survivor podcast. He asked me last week, talking to me about the potential rematch with the Rams. And I said, Tony, I can't get the rematch with the Seahawks out of my head. So for me, that storyline, I can't wait to relive that this week. But overall for me, I like kind of playing with house money. I love being the dog. Nobody thinks the Patriots have a shot against this team. Well, they won a Super Bowl as a 14-point dog about 25 years or so ago. So why not go get it done? I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think the Patriots are going to get blown the fuck off the field.
No. This will be a very competitive game. And I've even said this around him years ago. Rodney Harrison was the master of creating bullshit when it came to trying to be an underdog. It felt like that was the only way he could motivate himself was, there's 20 of 21 people who pick the Patriots to beat, someone, but the one guy who doesn't becomes the guy who speaked for them all when it came to Rodney Harrison. The one good thing about this Patriots team is all they're going to have to do is flip on TV, radio, whatever, to find the disrespect to motivate them if that's what's going to get them going. And I love it that Milton Williams is out there dominating, and then after the game, he's screaming basically, where is the respect for us? I want Big Milt to feel that way. He was a world champion last year. He's got a chance to be it again this year. And yes, the disrespect will be everywhere. It'll be easy to find. They won't have to manufacture it. And you know what, Jay? You know what this feels like? 0-1. not as big an underdog, but it feels like 0-1. It's a we find a way football team. They're against a team that everybody loves on the other side, and the Patriots are just quiet and confident, and they're about the work and have been under Mike Vrabel, and I trust it'll be the same this week.
It's very difficult to get into this tournament. It's really difficult to make it to this point. And why not? And if you seal the deal and win a championship, we can talk about the Boston Celtics in 2024, right? It gives you so much juice moving forward. You're world champions. Jaylen Brown is a NBA Finals MVP. So very natural for him to have a lot of fucking confidence going into this season and leave that team close to the top of the conference right now without Jason Tatum. And I believe if the Patriots can find a way to get this one, then without question, this era has a great chance to be multiple. But I think if you don't get this one, it can be a challenge to sort of get back. I think the Patriots getting that chip in 2001, then the down year in 2002, then back-to-back. I think getting one could vault this team. The fact that we could even be talking about vaulting this team into another era, dare I say dynastic era, is insane. No,
it really is. And it's... the kid's a part of it, but man, Mike Vrabel changed everything here. He really did. It truly is amazing the impact that guy had. And you're right, Jay. If the Patriots do lose this game, you do still feel like this is the beginning of kind of 3.0. You got the right coach with the right quarterback. You've already got a team who has maybe overachieved and gone to the Super Bowl. Now you can get to work on fine tuning. Let me get a better center. Let me get a real middle linebacker.
Right. I mean, Julian Edelman says they're a draft away. So, yeah. Right. I mean,
arguably, and that's the thing is that, they got to be prudent in free agency. And can they cut a deal with the kid that doesn't choke them on the salary cap? That becomes the next big hurdle for New England. They're going to have to pay Gonzo. It's a good point from Cody in the chat. Yeah. He's probably going to get $135 million or whatever. And those numbers are just going up. So as soon as New England can get that extension done, I expect that they're going to, because it's going to save them a couple of bucks. But you're right, Jay. I think we might be on the verge of version 3 and another fun decade following New England.
But getting it done is really a big piece of that, because you look at Joe Burrow getting there and not getting it done. So many things can happen, but I think getting that chip gives you a great chance to have the intangible ability to maybe get another one. I hate to say it. I think this AFC is going to be daunting for at least for a long time for Drake Maye and the Patriots to get through. I think it could be more difficult next year. Go ahead.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I'll say this because I know we want to get in some UFC before we get out of here. A little short and show today. The difference between New England and some of those other teams are they're not built just around the quarterback. And even when New England was really good, it wasn't just Tom Brady, right? There were other things around the quarterback. In Buffalo, they don't have that. In Cincinnati, they don't have that. They are so quarterback dependent that if those guys don't play great, they can't win. That's the difference with New England and why they've got a chance to be way more consistent than those other AFC teams, because they're building a football team. They're not building a group around a QB.
And the culture, right? Sean McVay was asked a question, and I don't have it in my notes, but someone asked him a very good question. He said, the love that he has for the people around him, doing it for them is a big piece of it. And the relationship of Drake Maye and Mike Vrabel, I could already make an argument, is a stronger relationship than Belichick and Brady ever had, despite winning. Whether that takes you where you want to go or not, but in 2026, that's the way to do this. I mean, Drake Maye and Mike Vrabel, unless they go through long, I don't see any conflict of these two persons in terms of handling their business and be able to have a relationship too. It's very, very unique. You look at some of these organizations like the Eagles and you have problematic things. Mike Vrabel is able, you hear Stephon Diggs like on the verge of tears saying the best coach he's ever played for. It is fascinating. I hope they find a way to get it fucking done, man.
Well, the other thing too that makes it easier for Vrabel to have different relationships is he's not the guy with the checkbook. Bill always had to, hey, I'm the GM first and then the head coach second. That's why it was always business with Bill. And with Brady, he's such a maniac. it gave him the best chance to win and put rings on his fingers. Brady was unique like that. Like his first extension was $60 million or something like that, because Bill had said, hey man, we're going to put a good team around you. And you know what? Brady was enough of a nut job to buy into that for a while. And he went to 10 Super Bowls. I think that matters to Brady more than, him and Bill sending Christmas cards.
I agree. And I also think at certain points in his career, when he was signing extensions, he was also married to a woman that was worth a lot more than he was. And that was probably a little bit relevant there too.
Tommy, he does not love you.
So we're going to talk a lot about the Super Bowl on next week's show, time and day to be determined. But we got a little combat sports to talk about for the first time in 6 weeks. So maybe get in a little bit of that before we get out of here, Andrew.
Yeah, I thought the crowd was very fussy. And I know that Umar Nurmagomedov does not, he's like Mike Vrabel. He doesn't care. He just wants to win, right? I get it, right? I do not understand why everyone wants to boo my cousin and my brother and Islam. We just come to stretch people. Khabib just coming in to stretch everybody. The Arnold Allen John Silva fight did not disappoint. That was a banger. That was a great fight. I missed the Silva Namajunas fight, but you know what? I was dead wrong on being on Derek Lewis. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he is ascending in the heavyweight division. Yeah. I thought that was a really impressive performance. I did think Sean O'Malley won the fight, but man, oh man, that was a lot. That was tougher sledding than I thought against Song Yadong for O'Malley. And then Pimblett, that's just a real disappointment. You're on the verge of having a chance to be a champion, and you just got pieced up by Justin Gaethje. I'm not the biggest Justin Gaethje fan, but goddamn, that was really impressive.
It was. I think Pimblett's jiu-jitsu is exceptional. So I, in terms of a path to victory, I have some questions there. Certainly he was extremely tough. What was it like for you watching on Paramount Plus?
You know what? I hate it. Well, first of all, ESPN did this shit as well. Can Paramount Plus, please God almighty, can you just have one link for the prelims and the main card? Because it took me a minute to figure out. I kept going to the link that it would give me, and it kicked me out because it was for the prelims. And then I went down a level and found the main card one, and then I was okay. Can for people who just like to watch the whole goddamn thing linearly, can you give me one link that I can click on, and I don't have to get kicked out and get pissed off, and my wife puts it on her phone, and then you got too many streams going because the kids are watching wherever they are. Can you just give me one link, please, Paramount Plus? Otherwise, it was fine. Change some music or whatever. Your brother was great. The broadcast crew was great. DC jerking himself off about how he looked. I mean, my God.
I love it. I love that you went there. It's fucking hilarious. So we'll only have one link for you this Friday night for Dirty Boxing 5 in Houston, Texas. And I'm excited for Dirty Boxing to sort of get back on the map here, right? They're trying to do one event a month in 2026. So we already know we're going February 27th to Nashville, Tennessee, back to Nashville. So I'm excited to get this going. And, the main event, Jessica Rose Clark taking on Paula Bittencourt. That is for the bantamweight strap. So the second title, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, the Dirty Boxing heavyweight champ. So I'm excited to get to Houston. Never been to H-Town before, and see what's shaking.
You know what? I have to dig up the name of a barbecue place you got to go to.
Please.
When I went to Houston for the Super Bowl, that would have been 03, 04, something like that, right? There's I hope it's still open, but it's literally like a house in a neighborhood.
I love it.
It's the craziest barbecue place, but oh my God, Jay. I went every day for a week. I mean, when we were there for this, I literally went there every day for a week. They got to know my name and know my order by the end of the week. It was fantastic. Houston's a big city. It depends on what of the three sort of faux downtowns that you're in, but I'm excited for you. I know that Dirty Boxing is expanding, and you know what? In the growing world of what we would call combat sports, let's just call it, not necessarily MMA. You have Dirty Boxing who's making inroads. You have Real American Freestyle. You have multiple jiu-jitsu leagues that are out there.
Yep.
The combat sport expansion has begun.
It has. And the one thing that I'll say really does separate dirty boxing for me is, they say the most exciting striking league on earth, like it is, right? I love the Professional Grappling Federation. I'm a part of the broadcast team there. Certainly I love the UFC. But for my money, like this is edge of your seat. Like as a commentator, right? It's tough to get in sometimes. These fights are so fast, so quick moving. And, even this co-main event, Ben Willis, who's 4-0, all first round knockouts, has over almost 500,000 followers in the UK, going against Brendan Kelly, who's a ninja warrior, Guinness records, bodybuilder. So these guys come from different areas of life, but some people find things late, just like me and fucking broadcasting, right? So, but I think it should be a banging card, and I'm excited to sort of fill out a building. I think the Bayou Center is
this guy Kelly, after he fights Willis, looks like he's going to put on a top hat and then sing some vaudeville or something for you.
Yeah, he won
with that mustache, dude.
He won. There was a national mustache competition for natural mustaches, and he came in 3rd place nationally for that stash.
There was a tag team at one point in time in WWE where the guys looked old timey and they called them the Vaudevillians. And this guy looks like a vaudevillian. It's pretty crazy. I know we got to scoot. We're both up against it, but we have a big banging Super Bowl edition of Gas coming next week. Maybe it might be Gas over. Maybe we plan to go longer because we have such a big Super Bowl preview. We'll have dirty boxing to talk about. We'll have UFC from Australia to talk about next week as well, where John Anik is maybe watching us sitting in an airport waiting to get down under.
Yeah. By the way, John trying to get from Vegas to Australia has been an absolute nightmare. Dude, going to spend a lot of time in the airport. Much love if you're watching Johnny. Thank you, Gresh.
All right, brother. We got to go. We'll see you later. Great job, Cody Merrow. See you next week on Gas.
Right from the